In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of the meeting has been posted. Roll call. Maria Santiago Valentin. Maria's not there.
Yeah,
Not
please
yet.
unmute yourself, Maria.
Ah.
I'm going to unmute you.
Okay, I'm present.
Okay, thank you. Sil McElroy? Sil? But we don't see her there, right?
No.
Okay, Diane Podesky. Diane is on.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Robin Sudan.
Here.
Arnold Smith.
Here.
Stan.
Judge, yes, present.
Walter Andrews, I'm here. Paul Walensky.
Here.
Paul, you unmuted. Okay, and Jessica Johnson. We saw Jessica here. And of course, Ted Chase.
Here.
All right, thank you all. I'll sort of follow the agenda. We don't want to keep our guests waiting. Chair report. I don't have a lot to report. I see that ANJAC is offering a lot of training, and of course, it used to be years ago that when the township paid our registration fee, or for the 7 of us or 6, they still had to pay for individual courses. Now it's included. Yeah, so $5. If there are 2, or if there are 3, or if there are 4, you can take advantage of them. Maria, were you able to see if everything is clear for you to get the training that you want?
No, I left a voice message to the town clerk, and I follow up with an email, but I feel because of COVID and snow, I didn't get any answer. So my next step is to email directly the commission, the ANJEZ, if you are all okay with that.
Okay.
If that's
all right. I'll check
on and see if I can register on my own.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now I'll double check with Mark Healy. So that's being said. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. We have the minutes. You all read the minutes of the last meeting, which was the February.
Which was January 11th.
January 11th. Yeah, this is February. All right. So does anyone have any questions? I mean, Ted did a great job as always, and he even went back and made corrections that people thought might not have been quite what they had said. Okay, so could I get a motion?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we approve the minutes. Sorry, excuse me, of the January 13 ECU WebEx meeting. All in favor, let it be known by just saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstention? Thank you. Minutes are approved, and I'll be sending those to Bob for posting. All right, we have our speaker tonight, and I believe, just not to keep her waiting, we'll have her come on now. And Stan, why don't you just give a short bio, and we can have her come on.
Sure. Okay. So today we have special guest from Princeton. So I would like to introduce you Eunice Wong. Eunice, she's a professional actor and writer. She has performed at theaters all over the country, and she also records audiobooks for Audible and other publishers. She's also an environmentalist, and as environmentalist, she wrote the official companion books to the Netflix films Cowspiracy and What the Health. Eunice is vegan for over 6 years because of the environment. She has also a website, www.eunicewong.com, and The first time I met Eunice was on December 16th when she was presenting this very topic at the Princeton Environmental Commission meeting. And that meeting was very well attended. And I was so amazed at the depth of the research that she made in order to understand the topic of leaf blowers, specifically those that are powered by gas, and what can we do to avoid the air and noise pollution that these pose. So Eunice, I give you the share function. If you have any presentation files, go ahead.
Point of order, Walter,
Yeah.
before Ms. Wong starts.
Mhm.
We had agreed to in the last meeting that we were going to have a open public session before we went to new business. And I'm just, what I'm asking is really that, first of all, I think that should be on the agenda. But second of all, do we have anybody from the public here today?
We do.
And if we follow what we had said at the last meeting, then I think we should open to the public first, just to see if they have anything they want to ask about. And then we're going to open it to the public later on as well.
I have no problem with that.
So I'll make a motion to open to the public then.
Okay. Get a second? Okay. Why don't we stand open to the public and see if we have any initial comments?
Yes. Who wants to speak? Wait a second. I have to. Where is chat?
How many people do we have in the
We
public?
have 8 people, but I need to figure who wants to speak.
Okay.
Amy, no comments.
Just remind them they can speak later also. We'll open it again.
Yes, but we have so many people in attendance, and I just don't know.
Perhaps invite them to use chat. So I don't know.
I'm going to randomly make unmute Brebda Ludwig. Then we have someone on call. We have David Desrochers, and we have Franklin Reporter. We have Lauren Randolph, and we have DJ Parker. I unmuted everyone. Anybody wants to say? I suggest that we close the public session.
Well, if nobody has anything to say, then I would make a motion to close to the public.
Good second?
No.
Okay. We're close to the public for now.
Hello?
Uh-oh.
Somebody's there.
Who's there?
This is Anthony Ganem, a resident
Okay.
of Franklin Township from 1951. And I would like to comment to Mrs. Wong after her discussion about leaf blowers.
Okay, so we'll do after.
Okay?
Thank you.
There will be opportunity after that, yes.
Okay, so after she gets through speaking, I would like to add to whatever she has to say. I'd like to listen. Okay?
Good.
All right, thank you.
All righty. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we had the motion to, why don't we close and have Ms. Wong come on?
I think Paul made a motion and I made a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
all in favor, let it be known by saying aye, yeah. Okay,
Aye.
I
Aye.
all right.
Okay, Eunice, go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction, Stan. Can you hear and see me okay? I've never
Yes,
used
Yes, you
WebEx
do.
before.
You have
I
full
see
screen.
you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
call speaker zero.
fantastic. So as Stan mentioned, I'm a professional actor, and I have to first of all say that I am not by any stretch of the imagination an expert on the issue of leaf blowers. Everything that I'm presenting to you today can easily be found on the internet. And 3 months ago, I knew nothing about leaf blowers. And I got into it for a very selfish reason, because with the theaters closed, I'm now producing and narrating audiobooks from my home studio. And I have professional equipment in my garage, along with a sound isolation booth that's double walled and very thick. And in November, I was being driven crazy by the sound of leaf blowers in Princeton, which would go on for literally hours and hours and hours every single day, to the point that I couldn't do my work until it was dark. Um, and I started to look into this issue because I thought, you know, with people working from home and with the pandemic and everything, I was just curious about the impact of these machines and what they were doing. So first of all, I was stunned to find out the environmental um, destruction they cause. That's not too strong of a word. The most common type of engines used in gasoline-powered leaf blowers are called a two-stroke engine. And these are engines that are also used in like scooters in the developing country. They've been banned from use in pretty much everything else except lawn equipment because they are so polluting. And just to give you an idea of how polluting they are, you can run a gasoline powered two-stroke engine leaf blower for 30 minutes, and that will produce in 30 minutes the same hydrocarbon emissions as driving a Ford pickup truck from New Jersey to Alaska in 30 minutes. And then in 2014, there was a study published which found that VOC emissions, which are a kind of carbon gas that can produce smog and other pollution, were on average 124 times higher from an idling two-stroke scooter than from a truck or a car. Now, leaf blowers are used from like, you know, up to six to 8 hours a day. And the average amount of time that a car is used a day is about 2 hours. So you have these machines that have these incredibly polluting, dirty engines running constantly, and they're emitting all of these emissions into the environment. And they're not being regulated, amazingly. And that also leads to another aspect of leaf blowers, which is the health consequence. And a lot of people will say, leaf blowers, you know, don't you have something better to do with your time? But when you start to look at the health consequences of leaf blowers for the community and for the workers who use them, the list of illnesses and ailments that they cause just goes on and on. Just as an example, there's asthma, there's cardiovascular disease, central nervous system disorders, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease in the lungs. Hearing loss is immense, especially for the workers. Hypertension, lung cancer, respiratory disease, risk of heart attack. There's a great quote from a very prominent ear, nose, and throat physician from Chicago, Dr. Robert Myers, who says, "When I see a crew using gas leaf blowers, I think 10 years from now, they'll be deaf, and who will take care of them then?" And for example, these workers are exposed to hours of 100 plus decibel noise right by their ears. The WHO recommends an outdoor sound level of less than 55 decibels. And so these workers are being exposed regularly to 110 plus decibels of noise. They're breathing in particulates, they're breathing in chemicals that have been shown to cause to cause cancer. They're breathing in formaldehyde, benzene. And then another very interesting effect of this chronic noise pollution is the effect on residents. And to kind of take a study that's not exactly about leaf blowers, but it's about chronic noise. So there was a study done of more than 1 million people near Germany's Cologne-Bonn airport. And they found that people who were subjected to background noise of greater than 40 decibels, which is, leaf blowers are definitely more than 40 decibels when they're in close proximity, these people were at increased risk of cardiovascular disease, kidney failure, and dementia compared with those who lived farther away from the flight paths where things were quieter. And for perspective, the legal nighttime noise limit in Washington, D.C. is 55 decibels. There was another study also in Germany, which showed how the opening of a new airport in Munich affected children. And they found that in the year and a half after the flights started from this new airport, the researchers found that the stress hormones in the children rocketed. So the children's epinephrine levels rose 49%. Their norepinephrine more than doubled. These are all stress hormones. And their systolic blood pressure on average went up by 5 points. So these are scientifically documented instances of chronic noise affecting people's health. And then I just want to talk about the noise signature of a gas-powered leaf blower compared to an electric leaf blower. You may find when you look at the manufacturer's decibel ratings, the official decibel ratings, you may find that they are similar or the same. But what's very unique about a gas-powered leaf blower's sound is that they have very, very low frequencies. And these low frequencies are able to travel enormous distances, far wider than an electric leaf blower. And they're able to penetrate buildings and walls and windows in a way that the sound profile of electric leaf blowers cannot, which is why the sound of gas-powered leaf blowers are so incredibly annoying to people, because they get through walls and they don't stop, and they go up and they go down. And so that's something that's very good to know when people point out that electric leaf blowers also make noise. Electric leaf blowers make a noise that is kind of like a vacuum cleaner, which is still annoying, but it doesn't travel blocks and blocks. And I found that in trying to rally support to get some change done in Princeton, starting a petition was one of the most important things I did, because it gathered together people in the community who felt the same way. And I was able to present this petition to the Princeton Environmental Council and the Princeton Environmental Commission and to the City Council, Municipal Council. And another thing to keep in mind about leaf blowers, because now in Princeton, we're starting to work hopefully towards an ordinance, is that when the backlash comes, because I think there will be from people who don't want to give up their leaf blowers, they don't want their landscapers to give up their leaf blowers, is to point out that things have changed gradually over the centuries, right? There used to be a time when it was acceptable for people to spit in public or to urinate in public, to smoke in other people's homes, to not pick up their dog poop. And so there's a paradigm shift that needs to happen, where people are starting to realize the ill effects of these machines and why we need to get rid of them. In Princeton, we're also starting an educational component of dealing with this issue. And we're hoping that the education and the ordinance goes hand in hand. So we educate the community about not requiring these machines, right? You don't need the plastic landscaping where you have every single leaf removed from the ground and it looks like AstroTurf, right? You don't need that. And it's also important to educate people that while electric leaf blowers are not as powerful as gas-powered leaf blowers, there's no need for hurricane force winds to clear your driveway of leaves. You can rake selectively, you can use a broom selectively, you can leave the leaves on the ground, which is the most environmentally friendly option. You can mulch the leaves with a mower. So there's all kinds of options. You can use electric leaf blowers, not on a 1-to-1 ratio, like you wouldn't use an hour of an electric leaf blower to an hour of a gas-powered leaf blower. You just use it where you really need it. And in most cases, you don't really need it. So it's really about a paradigm shift, thinking about these machines that have tremendous environmental costs, tremendous health costs, tremendous quality of life costs. And why? You know, you really have to ask why. And that is pretty much where we are in Princeton. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And I think you want to also mention that Maplewood, they already have the
Yes.
ordinance and
Yes.
maybe the story of how the fee works, right?
The fee, do you mean the penalty? Or
Yes, yes.
yeah, so there are actually, I believe, over 200 municipalities in the United States right now that have banned or seriously restricted gas-powered leaf blowers. And Maplewood, New Jersey is one of them. They have a ban from, I believe, May to the end of September. And it's very interesting what happened in Maplewood, New Jersey. One of the biggest objections to restricting leaf blowers is that people are worried about what will happen to the landscapers and to the landscape workers, and rightly so. But there has been no evidence anywhere, even anecdotally, that an ordinance or a ban has hurt the landscapers' business. And I will get to what you were saying, Stan, but I just wanted to mention that in Maplewood, New Jersey, what they found was that the ordinance helped save the landscapers money because they didn't have to maintain their machines, they didn't have to buy fuel, and they were spending less time at each house. So instead of having to mow, trim, and blow the properties, they only had to mow and trim so they could finish up one house more quickly and move on to the next. So they found that the ordinance was saving the landscapers money, which then was passed on to the customers. And one of the, I think, Stan, this is what you were mentioning. So one of the enforcement techniques that they chose to use in Maplewood was to fine the users of gas-powered leaf blowers during the time when it was banned. And they initially started off with fairly low fines, like $50 for the first fine, maybe $100 for the next violation. And what they found was that the more affluent property owners, who were the ones hiring the landscapers, would say, oh, you know, don't worry about it. $50, I'll pay the fine. Just use your leaf blowers and, you know, clear my yard of all the leaves. And so they would do this. And in order to get around this, Maplewood ended up raising the fines to, I believe, $500 was the first offense. And then the second offense was $1,000. The third offense became $1,500, and then $1,500 for every subsequent violation. So, and then they stopped paying the fines. The property owners said, okay, that's enough. And the enforcement issue is also very interesting because people say, well, how can people possibly, you know, enforce this? And the best approach from the research that I've seen is not to involve the police at all. You know, the police have enough to do. Also, a lot of the landscape workers are often undocumented immigrants, and the sight of, you know, a police car cruising up to a work site might not be the most welcoming thing for the workers. So what they did, for example, in Washington, D.C., which also has a ban on leaf blowers, is that they allowed people to use citizen affidavits using their phones. So they would take pictures of whatever they were seeing. They would take pictures of maybe the side of the landscaping truck with the name and the address. And they would send those photos with a timestamp in to the code enforcement. And as a citizen, they would have to, you know, do an affidavit and say, I swear that this is what I witnessed. And they would be able to, the city would be able to issue tickets or fees on the basis of those affidavits. So it is enforceable. There are, like I said, 200 municipalities who have done this. And I also want to bring up that there are landscaping companies in the Northeast United States that only use battery-powered leaf blowers. There is one great testimony, Quiet Clean DC. It's a great resource. And this is from a testimony of an owner of a landscaping company that uses only battery-powered equipment. And so this owner was saying, now the most important advantage of using battery-powered equipment, especially leaf blowers, is the low noise and zero emissions that our employees, customers, and customers' neighbors experience. The people operating battery-powered leaf blowers, like my employees and myself, are not exposed to harmful air and noise emissions while working, and also require less protective gear to be safe. The results I've seen in my landscaping business show that properties can be maintained at a reasonable cost while using battery-powered equipment. And this particular owner, this particular landscaping company, maintains low-end residential, high-end residential, commercial properties. The Smithsonian in Washington, for instance, bans gas-powered equipment on its campus. And you know the Smithsonian is huge. They have trees, lots of trees. And Harvard as well also uses battery-powered equipment on their campus, which again has these enormous shade trees. So it is possible, the technology is there. So it's possible for landscape owners to switch over. The thing is, without legislation and without an ordinance, it becomes a very, very slow process because people don't want to change. You know, they have their business, they know how to run it, and to change equipment is a disruption. And the thing about battery-powered equipment, it is more costly to invest in at first, but over time, it actually helps pay for itself because, as I said, as in Maplewood, you don't have the cost of the maintenance of the gas-powered machines. You don't have the cost of the gas. And the thing is, over, you know, several years, say 3 years, using gas-powered equipment in a commercial use, they're going to wear out anyway. So there comes a time when you have to replace, as a company, these gas-powered machines. And that's a great time for these companies to switch over to electric.
Great. So I just was sharing in the meantime the quietprinceton.org page, which has lots of useful resources. So feel free to open it on your website and check it out. Eunice, you also, the last time you were mentioning the petition website, right?
Mm. Yeah, the website that I use to create my petition is called change.org. You can create a petition for free.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of other petition websites online that are also free.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't explored them myself, but I know there's another one called iPetition.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't like change.org for any reason, you can always just Google something like start petition online free. And I'm sure many sites will pop up. I know that, for instance, Stan, the Environmental Commission meeting you mentioned in Princeton on December 16th, a lot of those people were there because of the petition, and a lot of the members of the Environmental Commission were impressed by the turnout. I think we had over 40 people.
46.
Yeah, it actually broke records
yeah.
for the Environmental Commission attendance. And the members of the Environmental Commission were really struck by that, by the turnout. And so they made addressing the problem of gas-powered leaf blowers a priority for this particular year. So gathering support is a huge and important thing to do. Another great resource, which Stan, I think you have, is Quiet Communities, which is an organization that helps different towns move towards regulating or even banning gas-powered leaf blowers. And they have tremendous resources as well. It's called Quiet Communities. I think it's quietcommunities.org. And so if anyone has an interest in pursuing this, yeah, there it is. That's a great place to start. I was very lucky in that Quiet Princeton already existed, but they hadn't really gotten the same amount of support from. So let me rephrase that. Because of the pandemic and so many people working from home, the issue of gas-powered leaf blowers has become enormous in Princeton, and I'm
More
guessing
profound.
probably
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
And I just want to share a story from Princeton. A woman was doing a job interview on Zoom, and there was a team of 3 or 4 gas-powered leaf blowers in the parking lot of the salon across the street from her. And she literally could not hear herself in this very important job interview. So she asked her husband to go and ask them if they could just stop for 10 or 15 minutes so she could be heard. And her husband went and talked to these these workers, and they told him that they had been paid to use their leaf blowers for an hour, even though there were no leaves on the ground. And so they were going to do that. They were going to run their machines for an hour, blowing dirt and debris around. And that's what they were getting paid for. So they weren't going to stop. And it's gotten to the point of absurdity where people aren't even thinking critically anymore about this issue. And I know that someone the other day, it was yesterday when the snow was falling, she said that their apartment building was using these gas-powered leaf blowers to blow the snow off the steps. And it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, you can use a shovel and do it in the same amount of time without the fumes, without the noise, and without the environmental costs. And people just don't think, because they have these machines, and so they use them without second thoughts.
Yes. Okay. What is the process now? Do we want to discuss it internally first or go into public discussion?
I believe we should go to public discussion, and so when our discussion begins, we will include both.
Okay.
Talk about Ms. Wong and input from the public. So we motion to open the public.
Can I make a motion to open the public?
Second. Okay. Did I see a hand?
Well, second, yeah.
Okay. All right. So approve. Move to the open to the public, and let's hear what public has to say. Individuals, the gentleman certainly who.
Yes. So I'm going to unmute him.
Walter, there was a first and a second, but no discussion. I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can we talk? Can we interact with the public during the open public? I'm just curious as to how this works.
I don't see why not. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I was trying to talk, but I didn't. I had myself muted and didn't realize it.
Okay. All right.
As long as the notes you're taking, it shows it. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, am I allowed time for me to talk or have
Yes.
a few questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Anthony. I do agree with Mrs. Wong about the noise, but that's noise that we can't do away with. And you're talking about a 2-cycle gas engine, which burns much cleaner today than it does 10 years ago. And the noise, yes, I do agree with the noise. The fumes, I don't think that it's burning cleaner today than years ago. And I don't think the fumes, like you said, a car going from here to Alaska and a half hour of a leaf blower has more pollution than an automobile. Well, let's back up a little bit here. I've been using gas-powered leaf blowers for 30 years. I don't think the fumes, like you said, a car going from here to Alaska and a half hour of a leaf blower has more pollution than an automobile. Well, let's back up a little bit here. I've been using gas-powered leaf blowers for 30 years. I'm an outdoorsman, and I appreciate the environment. And talking about leaf blowers, I have electric leaf blowers, and I bought battery-driven leaf blowers. I bought the best ones on the market. The batteries only last about 8 minutes. I returned it. I bought another one. Same thing, returned it. I bought an electric leaf blower, and I have a gas blower. What it is, now if the landscapers have to keep the area clean and the leaves form mold, and people that have asthma need the leaves to be cleaned up, and going with the leaf blowers, battery-driven, how is the landscaper supposed to keep his batteries charged all day? He'd need at least 40 or 50 batteries to operate his crew to keep the areas clean. Other than that, we're going to be living in the dump. We might as well go back to leaf rakes and street brooms. With this leaf blower, now he'd have to have a generator on his truck running from the time he starts to the time he finishes, because these batteries only last 8 minutes. I returned 2 of them, I know, and I investigated the matter. So that means he has to have a large generator in order to charge at least 15 batteries. And that's fumes in the air, and that's noise pollution. We have to think of that too. Now, let's think about the 2-cycle motorcycles the noise. They're a mile away from my house. I live in the center of Cedar Grove Lane. I hear them starting at Amwell Road and finishing up at Easton Avenue all hours of the day. You want to talk about noise? Let's talk about the sirens on the fire trucks, the police cars, the ambulance. That's noise pollution. And the worst of all, we have a lot of warehouses in the area and office buildings. What's going to happen when the drones start to deliver packages? The average drone, toy drone, has a decibel between 60 and 75 decibels. These other drones that are going to deliver packages they have to be more powerful than a toy drone, and the decibel readings are going to be much louder than 60 to 75. So I think that we should go after that also. I don't like to hear a siren 3 o'clock in the morning, which I do all the time. Now, you talk about leaving the leaves on the road or on the lawn. It'll kill the lawn. It'll cost people more money. I wish we have a better solution for what for the landscapers, but apparently not. But for a perfect example about cleaning up leaves, let's take New Brunswick Road. I'm not complaining about it. I don't care. We'll let it be there. That road should be manicured going to the golf course. Look at it. From Cedar Grove Lane to Willow Avenue. The leaves haven't been cleaned up off of that road in 3-4 years. Grass hasn't been cut. And it looks like a dump, excuse me, but that's what it looks like. I'm not saying that we should do away with leaf blowers. I'm not saying we should keep them. But yes, I'd like to have a quiet environment. But there's so many other noisemakers besides this, and these are mom-and-pop landscapers that have seasonal work. And a lot of times there's a drought in the summertime, and you don't even hear the leaf blowers or the weed whackers or the lawn mowers because it's a drought. The only time you hear them are in the fall time when they're collecting the leaves. And you know, I wish we could come up with a good solution that they're much more quieter and cleaner burning. Yes, they do have some fumes because I own them. I have been using them for over 50 years. So, yes, I do wear air muffs, and I do wear a mask sometimes to stop the fumes. But like I said, they're burning much cleaner today than they are 10 years ago. And I wish they were quieter, too. I do agree with you there. So I have no further comments on this matter.
Eunice, do you want to answer some of those concerns?
Sure. So just to, because I wasn't taking notes, and there were a lot of points raised, I think there's a difference between the sound inconvenience of a fire engine or an ambulance versus a leaf blower. I think that the former is a necessity, and I would say that the latter is not. And in terms of using actual machines, like I said, I'm not an expert, and this is all information that I've found online, but I have found, as I said, that there are many companies that are able to use battery-powered equipment. They found it viable, and
battery-powered equipment is just as noisy as the other leaf blowers. I had two of them. They only last me 8 minutes. So
earlier about the sound profile. Can I finish?
Batteries to clean my driveway and charge them. They take about an hour for each battery to get charged. So, yeah.
What I was saying earlier about the sound profile is that the low frequencies of the gas-powered machines travel much farther and they're much more penetrating. And I brought up the testimony of the owner of the landscaping company in Washington, D.C., testified in preparation for the Washington, D.C. ordinance. And I'm pretty sure that their machines last longer than 8 minutes. In fact, there is a great organization called the American Green Zones Association. The acronym is AGZA, A-G-Z-A, and they do trainings for workers in how to efficiently use electric battery-powered machines in which they can have a battery last for 3 hours. Now, I don't know how these landscaping companies recharge their machines. Maybe they use a generator, but they don't have 15 battery packs. I think the average number is 5 to 6, and they switch them out and recharge them. But I have multiple testimonies here from different landscaping companies in the Northeast who are able to run their entire business using these machines. So I'm sorry, I can't speak to the actual experience of using them, running a company, but
I'd like to know
it's possible.
What battery for a leaf blower will last 3 hours. I'd like to know that leaf blower because I bought two of them, different brand.
I recommend you contact AGZA.
This was only last summer, and I returned them. And they said there's nothing on the market. I don't know where these guys are, these landscapers are buying them because I'd love to get a leaf blower.
Right. So let me direct towards a resource. Go to agza.net. AGZA.net.
AGZA.
.net.
Net. Okay. Because I'd love to
and like I said, I'm sorry, I don't know all the ins and outs of the actual equipment, but I'm looking at their website right now. It's AGZA approved equipment. They have the Still AP commercial, the Husqvarna commercial, Oregon Professional, the Ego, the Mean Green mowers, the Flex Rake. So there's a lot of resources on this site that might be really, really informative about the actual equipment, which I'm sorry I can't really speak to.
Stan, if I could jump in here for a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry, sir. What was your name?
Anthony.
Anthony. So a couple of points. One, I actually just bought an electric leaf blower this past summer, and
Cordate?
Pardon me?
Cordate or battery?
Battery.
Battery.
The battery lasts about 20 to 30 minutes, and it recharges in less than an hour. If at some point I will see if I can go to my garage and get it, and I can tell you what kind it is, if that would be helpful. but it's definitely more than 6 to 8 minutes. I mean, it's 20 to 30
Maybe they
minutes that it
changed it
lasts.
last year
Well,
until now.
let me just go on about
Learned a
that.
lot about it.
Okay. I'm not a, you know, I retired a couple of years ago, and I like sitting on my deck and reading the newspaper, just reading, and I hear landscapers all around me, and I'm not a fan of having to hear these all of the time. So that's, I would love, and the electric ones are quieter.
Yeah, I have electric.
Emergency sirens you brought up, they are exempt under the state noise code, whether it's fire engines or ambulances. Those are exempt. There's nothing that can be done about that. They're emergency situations. So that's not even a part of the discussion.
Okay, how about the dump truck, that motor brake before a light? That's noise pollution also. That's another subject.
You're
Okay.
right, but the state does not regulate motor vehicles on the road. So that's
Okay.
not something that's regulated either. And you brought up motorcycles. I agree, they're very loud, but again, unregulated on the road, other than, same as trucks, they're required to have mufflers on them. And some people, motorcycle riders, some people remove the mufflers because they like to have the loud noises. And
Right.
that's a police issue. So it doesn't come under the, well, I mean, under the regulations, there's requirement to have those mufflers. Something about the Maplewood Ordinance that was brought up, that Eunice brought up. She was pretty right on about what she was talking about on that. And it is from May 15th through September 30th. The reason that they're allowed to be used after September 30th and before May 15th is because that is spring and fall cleanup times. So those are the major times when landscapers are using the leaf blowers, but we do know that they use them all throughout the season, but those are the major times before May 15th and after September 30th. One thing that was not discussed, the Maplewood Ordinance is for commercial operators. It doesn't say anything about residents. Residents are allowed to use the gas-powered leaf blowers.
Okay.
Can I just jump in there? I'm not sure about this. I think there was an amendment made to the Maplewood Ordinance because the Professional Landscapers Association actually sued Maplewood for discrimination, saying that, you can't make one set of rules for commercial entities and another set of rules for residential. And I believe that they are changing their ordinance now to cover everyone because of that lawsuit. So now, again, don't quote me on this. They're either in the process or have done it of applying the ordinance to not only commercial entities, but also to residents.
The latest ordinance from Maplewood that I've seen is from 2017, and that just says commercial, but if they are in the process of, or if they've changed it, I haven't seen that
I
yet.
think it's very recent, like possibly last month or so. So,
And I have a question. So, I mean, I think this is a good discussion here. And Eunice, you mentioned the petition, and I wonder what the best way to go about getting change in Franklin Township, if there's going to be change in Franklin Township, as far as an ordinance is concerned, is the best way to go about it from the Environmental Commission doing something, or is it you get a petition going throughout the town so you know that the people in the town want this done? And, if there's a big outcry from a town, from township people, and if you see that, then you move towards doing some kind of resolution and an ordinance. The other way would be if the Environmental Commission did a resolution and wrote an ordinance that wasn't asked for by anybody other than maybe a few people, but not by council. So that's part of the discussion. How does the township go about it?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know a lot about municipal governance. I know that the way Princeton works is that the Environmental Commission creates a list of goals, and they pass those goals on to the municipal council as strong recommendations. And from what I understand, council takes the Environmental Commission's recommendations very seriously. And so I feel like what we did in Princeton was we kind of came at it from both directions. We had the public's support for change. And it wasn't only the petition. If you look back at the letters to the editor of the Princeton packet, for months and months, every single week, it seemed like, there was a letter from someone complaining about the leaf blowers. So there was that. There was the petition, which was then presented to the Environmental Commission. And the Environmental Commission was convinced or persuaded by the petition and the letters to the editor that there was enough outcry from the town to make a change. And so they recommended that council look into it and potentially get the process for an ordinance going. I'm not sure how it works in Franklin, but I feel like my guess is that most people, especially who are working from home and schooling from home, perhaps, probably want some kind of regulation on the noise, at least, of the leaf blowers. I suppose the only risk there, if the Environmental Commission started the process going without input from the public, was if the public didn't feel the same way. And you need community cooperation for the enforcement and for the ordinance or legislation to succeed. So I think it's really a case-by-case basis. I mean, in Princeton, we knew that there was like a groundswell of support for an ordinance, for change. So that's sort of the direction that we went in from.
Again, for Princeton, what did they end up with, or where are they now?
We're still waiting for council to officially come up with their list of goals for the first half of 2021. They were supposed to do that, I think, in January, and they just had too many presentations. So now they're going to revisit that in February. We already know that unofficially, there's a lot of support among council members who have been hearing about this issue for a long time and from a lot of constituents. So that's where we are. The Environmental Commission did make addressing leaf blowers and lawn maintenance equipment in general a priority for the year. And so they passed that recommendation on to the council. And from everything I've been told, council takes those recommendations very seriously. So we have our fingers crossed that we will move forward with an ordinance. Sustainable Princeton, which is a nonprofit that works with Princeton government, is already starting an outreach program to the landscapers to get their voices on the table. They're working with I don't remember the name of it, but they're working with different groups, different health groups, with Latino community organizations, just so that we have as many voices from people who are impacted by a potential ordinance as possible. And of course, it will be landscapers who will be impacted. So they're really trying to get them involved in the process as well. And like I said earlier, the education component is also big because we want the general community to be on board with the ordinance so that it succeeds.
Are there any other questions from the public or comments?
I'm going to randomly unmute other people.
Okay.
Yes, hello, my name is David DeRoche.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I moved to Somerset about 3.5 years ago. I live in a condo in Canal Walk. And when I came from Cranford, New Jersey, where I spent 8 years on the Cranford Environmental Commission, and this was always one of my hot topics. While I was there, I developed a program. It was more of a program to make people aware of leaf blowers called Rake for the Planet, where we would encourage people to turn off their rake blowers and you know, use a rake instead. And we got the Boy Scouts involved and so forth. So I don't think this is a major solution for the problem that we're talking about, but what it did do is bring awareness to the community about the negative effects of leaf blowers. The other thing I want to say about this is, I live in Canal Walk, and they have landscapers taking care and keeping the lawns manicured, and they really ought to call them dust blowers, because the amount of times they use these machines to actually blow leaves is a couple of times a year. The rest of the time, I see these guys walking up and down the street blowing dust, and a leaf here and a grain of blade of grass there. So I think the point was brought up that they actually abuse using these machines. So they're not using it for the sole purpose of getting some major work done when there's a lot of leaves on the lawn. So I think the fact that these machines are being abused throughout the year, not just in fall when they have to move a lot of leaves, just exacerbates the problem. One of the things that I think that we faced in the Cranford Environmental Commission was, in order to get something like this done in Franklin Township, you really need to get the community behind it. You have to have a popular swell of people who are concerned about this and actually want to do something about it. Because I know when I did this Rake for the Planet program, I got emails from people who were very proud of their leaf blowers, that they're so strong they can blow bricks over. And so they didn't want to hear anything about restricting the use of these machines. So there's going to be a lot of resistance. But I think the point is, with the Environmental Commission in Cranford, we had a liaison from the Township Committee who was on the Environmental Commission. So we would deal with that liaison to try to start getting the ball rolling on any kind of ordinance that we wanted to pass on the environmental side. So I'm not sure if you have that in your commission, but that might be one way to get the ball rolling. But I think the other point was brought up about getting a petition started, trying to get a feeling from how people in the community feel about this issue. That might be a good start to try to get some feedback from the community.
This is certainly one of the reasons why we have this public discussion today.
Yeah, I completely agree that the machines are misused, and they're used to blow garbage, off the side. It's not just twice a year when the leaves fall. It's 3 seasons a year, and I feel like with global warming, with climate change, it's extending into 4 seasons, and it's a complete abuse of what these machines are made for. And we don't even really need them to begin with.
Right. Anyone else?
If I can respond as the council liaison to the Environmental Commission. Yeah, I think a petition would have some effect, but also if you have a couple of people speak up during the public session of the council meeting, if you have this going on for 4 or 5 council meetings, they'll pay attention.
I have unmuted Javier Ferro, PJ Parker, and Franklin Reporter. If you want to say something. And you muted yourself. Okay, I got the message.
Yes. Good evening.
Oh, Javier,
sorry,
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Javier. I just want to say this is my first ever virtual township meeting, so I appreciate the time and appreciate the opportunity to voice the opinion. I agree with everything that has been said about the annoyance of these machines. It doesn't only impact people with asthma as far as dust goes in the air, but it also uh, you know puts people inside. Getting when I used to go to work and now I'm home working from home. Obviously, it's now more noticeable and very annoying. But now, when you are done with the day and you try to go outside to hang out with when it's summertime, obviously, and it's pleasant outside, and you're trying to barbecue and you're trying to have a family meeting or a family gathering, you end up with these landscapers coming in and not just leaf blowing, but like the gentleman said, blowing dust and pieces of grass into oblivion. I mean, I don't know where they put them, but they just blow them away. Um, and it's not just the fume, it's the noise, right? So just the annoyance of having the noise, and at that point in time you have to go inside, right? So it interrupts with not just it puts people inside, which is it's something that I think it's counterproductive. People want to be outside enjoying the nice weather, and obviously exercising, walking around the neighborhood, which is just one of the reasons we moved to Franklin. It's just the ability to enjoy your environment. It's just a shame when you have these I say industrial equipment, but very commercial, heavy duty equipment impacting people's lives, right? Just not just from the fumes standpoint, but the noise, just so annoying and disruptive. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Can I jump in there with another point about the environmental impact? So these leaf blowers, particularly the gas ones, which are so intensely powerful, they contribute to soil erosion and they destroy insect habitats. And so there's a level of environmental destruction going on at a micro level as well as a macro level with emissions. But on a micro level, there's all kinds of stuff happening that we can't physically see. The soil is being blown away, the insects are being destroyed. You're removing leaves from the lawn, which if they were allowed to mulch naturally would contribute nutrients to the soil. But we remove that, and then we have to put chemicals on the lawn to replace the nutrients, which is
Exactly.
a great process.
Yeah. I want to also mention one point here, because as we know, most of the workers are Latino workers, low and moderate income people. This becomes equity issue and environmental justice, because those people get most of the exposure to both the fumes and the noise, right? And it's not fair. So.
Yeah.
And anybody else in the audience? Or anybody on the commission? Yes, Maria.
Okay, I put, there's a Facebook private group for Somerset County and Middlesex County, and I posted the flyer of this meeting, and I receive comments and resistance there. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know if you want me to share that information with you after the meeting, so you can assess how the community is feeling about this. That's all. I didn't make any comment. I just posted as for informing them to come to the meeting. That's all.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I posted.
Definitely want to hear. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, I posted this event on Facebook page of historic Franklin residents, whatever his name, and I didn't check the comments for a few days, and then I realized that it had lots of negative comments. They were pretty much mocking me personally down or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, then you are the audience. You are the one who should come. And, because, so I didn't say it explicitly, but, maybe we can post recording of this, although I actually posted recording from another event. So whoever was interested, they could actually hear.
All right. Anybody else?
I think
Maybe before
we are done from the public.
Well, I'd like to add just one more thing. There's a lot of citizens that own their own home, senior citizens that own their own home, and they like to keep it clean and neat. And they live around the woods, the wooded area, and they have trees on their property. I know a lot of them that use the leaf blowers, and this is going to hurt them a great deal, as you know, because they have large driveways. Their driveways get full of leaves. There's no other way for them to clean it. They're not strong enough, and they do use electric leaf blowers to get rid of the leaves. So this is something to take into consideration for seniors. We have a lot of seniors in this town that own their own homes, and they like to keep them clean and neat. And this is going to be something to them that's going to harm them in a way, with the mold from the leaves and the leaves sitting there all winter long. And you know, something should be done about it. I don't agree with the noise. I don't like the noise. But what else? What are they going to do? A lot of them are on medication, and they have to clean their driveways and cut their lawns toward the evening because their medication doesn't allow them to be in the sun for a couple hours or a half hour or so. So, you know, we're looking at one side of this, but we got to look at both sides. And we got to satisfy everybody. I don't like the noise. I wish it was quieter, but I have to put up with it if I want a clean place. I don't want a place that looks like a dump. So what are we going to do about it? It's been going on for years. Like I said, they have cleaner fuel. It burns much cleaner. Maybe the companies could do something. I don't know. But that's my closing, and I just hope that we can get a leaf blower out there that's silent.
Yeah, well, we are in the discussion stage, and we appreciate your comments. So we hopefully will move forward from here.
Yep, I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night. Okay. I move to close the public session.
Second. Did we get a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. So let's close the public section and go back to the commission.
Need to vote, Walter. Take the vote.
All in favor, let it be saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We're back into the.
So Eunice, thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Very eye-opening. Thank you.
There's a lot of information out there. It's all on the internet. You just need to Google.
So before Eunice leaves us, I guess a question that we have for ourselves is, as the Environmental Commission, what, if anything, do we want to do? Do we want to wait for somebody in the public to start a petition? Do we wait for people to go to council meetings? Do we wait to see what the public outcry is about this? Some towns are more proactive than others, so I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, here's one thought. I think we can say to the public who attended tonight that if any of you feel called to start a petition, maybe using some of the resources that Eunice mentioned, please feel free to do so and bring it to us. It would be very helpful for us if a member of the public or several were to create a petition and then bring it to us with signatures. It would be something we would respond to.
And can I say, I am more than happy to share the link to my petition if anyone wants to look at it. It has a lot of information. It's all sourced. Feel free to steal it and use it as a template if you want. Stan, can I do that if I enter it in the chat?
Yeah, go put it into chat. Yeah. I think I have it too, but I don't know who will be faster.
I'm going to send it. I'm going to send the link to you, and then you can make it public, 'cause I'm not sure how to do that.
If you go to chat.
So I said send to host.
Okay, okay.
So you've got it there.
You need to like all attendees will go to everyone.
Oh, all attendees, got it. I can do that.
I think part of the question
I
also is,
reposted it, so everybody should see it now.
Okay.
I think part of the question is, what would the petition say? What is the petition asking for? Are we looking for something, are they looking for something broad where it's nobody can use gas powered leaf blowers at any time of the year? Or is it commercial operators, can use them during fall and spring cleanup? If there's a lawsuit going on that has been lost and because it's only for commercial and it has to be for everybody, not just commercial people. So I think what that petition says has to be very specific so that people
So I'm
will sign
I'm
it.
just sharing the screen with the petition page, and so we can go through it and see whether there's any inspiration. But as you mentioned earlier, it should be it should be grassroots.
Yes, and I don't think we should dictate the terms to the public of a petition. Let the public bring forth something that they believe in, and if there are models out there, all the better.
I wasn't dictating something. I was just trying to make a point.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
it's fair. Look, there are lots of references here.
Yeah, but Arnold, what you were asking, so this particular petition, the only thing that it's asking for is for a leaf blower ordinance to be a priority for this year, because that was our next step in terms of how our government works. And then the understanding or the hope was that with this petition, we would convince the Environmental Commission and the council to work towards an ordinance. And once we had that step, we would then focus on what was in the ordinance. And I've been working with Quiet Princeton, and there's a lot of different ideas, but one possible thought was, doing a phase-in over a year where there was, for instance, a seasonal ban, like in Maplewood, and then using the gas-powered leaf blowers for cleanup. And then the following year, using electric machines for cleanup. So giving people time to adjust to a change. So it's not immediately like you have to rush out now and get new equipment, but allowing people to plan, and then gradually moving the ordinance forward, or the approach to leaf blowers forward.
I think that's a good way of doing it, Eunice. What you just said is that just to make leaf blowers a priority, and then from there you move forward, you get where you can become more detailed. I like what you highlighted right there, Stan, because at the bottom you have Larchmont, New Rochelle, and White Plains, all New York. I grew up in Larchmont. I rented an apartment in New Rochelle after college, and then I rented a house in White Plains with some friends after that. So I'm familiar with that whole area there. So
The reason why it hit me, because I seen Highland Park and I was like, hey, but it's actual Highland Park in California.
I think this is Illinois, right? Highland Park, Illinois.
Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay, then. But it's
I have a question. Eunice, is there a cost differential between the electric blowers and the gasoline blowers?
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there is. So the electric blowers are more expensive to buy up front. So it's more of an investment up front.
It's like an electric car.
Yeah, but then over time, it really does pay for itself because you don't have to buy the fuel, you don't have the costly maintenance of the gas machines.
Electricity is cheaper.
Yeah.
Here in
there's a broad spectrum of electric, just like there's a spectrum of gas, where you can get an electric for probably $99 and one for $199 also. And the biggest cost of a lot of that is the
Is the battery.
battery.
Yeah.
And
the price of battery is going down,
Right.
So.
Yes, you're right, Stan. They are. But it all depends on how powerful you want your blower to be. Depending on how many watts or horsepower or whatever it is they go by, the lower it is, the lower watts or horsepower, the less expensive it is. But of course, if you're going to be a landscaper buying an electric, they're going to want to get the strongest one there is.
But the other thing to keep in mind is that I think in 2018, battery-powered equipment was considered one of the top trends of professional landscaping. So the research and development of this issue is really increasing by leaps and bounds. There was one analogy somewhere in one of these articles that compared, you can talk about cell phones, but it's like comparing the iPhone of today with the clunky brick-sized thing that people carried around in the 1990s. They're both cell phones, and yet the technology has developed in an incredible way, and it's just going to keep getting better because there is a demand for it, and companies are investing in it.
Well, I want to speak a little bit for the seniors because we're in Canal Walk. We've got 1,200 housing units and about 2,000 people. And Somerset Run, between the 4 adult communities, we've got several thousand people. And all 4 of them have contracts with landscapers that use the leaf blowers. And that was the first thing somebody mentioned was what will happen to our maintenance costs, because that's a prime driver. But if it can be shown that it's a long-term investment, then I think then the boards, we have a governing board, as do the other 3. They could make that argument to the landscaper.
Yeah.
Because there are long-term contracts at this point. And if you raise the cost to the blower people, to the landscape people, then do you open up the contract?
Right. And also remember that the gas-powered machines, when they're in a commercial operation and used continuously, they do wear out within a space of a couple of years. And so those machines, the gas machines, need to be replaced on a continual basis. And so, if at one of those junction points, you can convince a company to invest a little bit more in the electric machines and switch over at that point when they had to replace their machines anyway. It's kind
what
of
we need is well, you're right. What we need is a life cycle analysis. Does that show up in any of your references?
I have not seen that, no, but that doesn't mean it's not out there.
Right. Maybe the landscaping associations might have that kind of information, but that would be a valuable piece of information to be able to present to a landscaper, especially the big ones that we use.
Yeah, the website that you mentioned earlier, agza.net, they might have that because they work very closely with the actual machines. It's agza.net.
Okay.
GZA.net.
Okay.
It's American Green Zones Association.
Oh, okay. So they might have some. That's the kind of information that will sway the landscaping people.
No impact, no impact. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
I had a limited sample that I spoke to, but people seemed interested in reducing the noise level.
Eunice, before we leave this this topic, we are going to have an open public session at the end of the meeting also. So there might be more people with comments. So if you want to stick around and listen to the rest of the meeting, that would be great. If not, if you have other things to do, that's up to you.
Yeah, I actually do have to go because I've got 2 small kids to put to bed. But if anyone has any questions, Stan has my email. Feel free to, forward the questions to me and I will answer to the best of my ability. But like I said, everything I'm presenting is on the internet. So you might be able to find it yourself, but I have done hours and hours of research. So feel free to send those questions my way as well.
Well, I have to say that your children have been very quiet. We haven't heard them, so
They're
I
very
can hear
good.
them.
They're downstairs. I think you've seen my dog a few
Yes.
times.
Yes, we did.
All right. Very good.
All right. Take care. Thank you so much,
All
everyone.
right. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. So commissioners, I know we have other things to do, but where do we want to go from here? Do we want to digest this a bit and come back at the next meeting? Sort of discuss it a little more here.
I think we need to do some research. I mean, we've heard the presentation, we have a base, and maybe we can do a little bit of research and come back next meeting with it.
I also think that based on this this conversation, who knows, maybe somebody will come out with a petition. I think you said that the Franklin Reporter is a member of the public tonight.
Yes.
Maybe they will write something about this, which might entice people to start a petition.
That would be great.
That was a hint.
I agree, Arnie. Great point.
And we don't need to make a motion on that.
No,
All right. Very good.
Okay, so what is the next point on our agenda?
EC webpage subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, that's something that
Okay, but somebody wants to probably share a screen, right?
No,
Who that, no?
not yet. Are you talking about what JJ sent?
Well, this and maybe more because the way how WebEx works, that only one person can present at a time, and I have to shuffle that, who has that privilege.
Well, let me just start off with that, and if there's a need for a screen sharing,
You will
which there
tell me.
probably
Okay.
will be, and maybe by then JJ said she might come on late and she might be able to discuss the email that she sent earlier today.
JJ lost power. She sent an email that
Yeah, she's not
power's
coming.
out.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, as noted in my email yesterday, Walter, Robin, Jess, and I had a very productive meeting with Bob McQueen and Krista Hedgedis. A point brought up by Bob is that whenever we submit something for posting on our webpage, the township website or township social media, we need to submit it to the help desk at helpdesk@franklinnj.gov. Don't send requests or information to Bob because he will just forward it to the help desk. Another point, currently our webpage has our minutes and agendas going back to 2014. Krista has found 2010 to 2013. She will post. We're
Excellent.
2005 to 2009 and possibly earlier. If Ted or I or anyone else finds them or even prior minutes and agendas, we can get them posted, which will be beneficial for historical purposes. Also, the township has a GIS person who will help us with integrating into our webpage maps, streams, trails, and hopefully relevant pictures for these areas, which will look very nice on our webpage. Krista's going to get back to us within the next 7 to 10 days with what she has accomplished. She's working on our webpage as we speak. She'll contact us in the interim if she has any questions or needs clarifications on what we've provided. We have our next meeting with IT scheduled for February 12th. We also have to talk about our mission statement, both the wording and what JJ sent us earlier today. But before we get to that, I mean, that's pretty much what I had to say. But before we get to that, Walter and Robin, I might have missed something. I probably did. So anything that you guys want to add to the discussion about what we talked about last week with IT?
No, I'll just say that Krista said You know, I think she was pleased to get as much feedback. She's got a lot on her plate, but she was going to start working on it as soon as possible. And I think having met with her face to face will help us try to keep things into her. And she said, just get me stuff. I just need content. Get me stuff. So that was encouraging. We need to make it part of our regular agenda that what are we going to send over to the help desk at the end of every meeting. So we're making sure we're giving them current content.
And we know she got back to us within, I don't know, 24, 36 hours. She had a couple of questions for us. So we do know that she is working on it right now. Maybe not right now at 8:30, but during her day job.
Yeah. And she informed us, I guess there is a so-called standard for websites. I forgot the acronym. Maybe one of you remember that, you know, we have to live within, but there's certainly plenty of room to work within that to get what we want. Does anyone remember the acronym for that particular standard?
She was referring, I think, to the template they use overall for the township's website. We can't really wander far from that template.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Walter, before we go on to old business, I'd like to add something to new business if it's not too late.
Well, we want to finish with the website first, or is this that part of what you're talking about, Robin?
No. Afterwards.
Okay.
Afterwards.
So if there was nothing else about the website, we need to address the mission statement.
So I have one question.
Yes.
The meeting that you guys are going to have on, you said the 12th. What is that about? I was just curious.
Well, I'm curious too. That's a very good point. I think it's going to be Krista showing us what she has accomplished so far. I'm pretty much speculating, but that's my speculation. Walter, Robin, any thoughts on that?
No, I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
On my computer,
that was
minutes as far
that's my
back as
understanding. She was going to be working away.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Ted, let Ted finish and then we can come back.
Yeah, I do have on my computer minutes as far back as 2000. I don't guarantee that I have every meeting, particularly since sometimes I wasn't present for a meeting, though in some cases I have those on paper. But I can
if you have them on paper, whether they're use copies or give her the originals or whatever, I guess if we're able to give her a package of them, she would be able to scan them, hopefully, and then put them into our webpage. If they're emails, in your documents file, and you can email them to her, it can be done that way.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Ted, for missing a couple of meetings over the last 30 years. I mean, we'll let it slide this time.
What's the exact address there? Help desk?
Help desk at franklinnj.gov.
Okay, fine. That's what I thought it was. But
good. Okay, that's great, Ted.
Wow.
Take a while because they're listed by day of the month, not by year, the way I have them filed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure we'll be able to work it out.
Before we get to new business or old business, we skipped over plans review on the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there is one plan I wanted to mention because we really didn't make any comments about it.
Paul, before you start that, let's finish with the website, okay?
Okay, I didn't know which came when.
Yeah, well, we're on this subject, so why don't we just finish with the website?
Perfect.
So there are two things left on the website. One of them is regarding our mission. Well, both of them actually address our mission statement. So our mission statement currently on our webpage is working to preserve and protect our precious natural resources. Ted suggested adding to that and the quality of life in all parts of our township, rural, suburban, and urban. My personal opinion, I think adding what Ted said and the quality of life in all parts of our township is a great idea. I think that fits in there wonderfully. To include the word urban is debatable. That's sort of a personal thing for me. Some people consider the Hamilton Street area from Franklin Boulevard to New Brunswick as urban, just that very small part of Franklin Township. However, as Ted has also pointed out, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ted, it's one street that's surrounded by mostly single-family homes in a suburban setting. So we need to decide on what our mission statement says or is. And I'm going to read 3 different versions that I sent you yesterday. And there's the option for someone else to come up with something else if they want to. So the 3 options that I came up with are: 1 is working to preserve and protect our precious natural resources and the quality of life in all parts of our township. The second one, working to preserve and protect our precious natural resources and the quality of life in all parts of our township, rural, suburban, and urban. And the third one would be working to preserve and protect our precious natural resources and the quality of life in all parts of our township, rural, and suburban. So those are 3 options that I sent you yesterday, but somebody else might have something
May
else.
voice my opinion?
Absolutely.
So I think that when you say all, it means all. And the moment we start listing it, we open the debate about whether we are inclusive enough. So I think that, in my opinion, we don't need to put the list behind what do we mean by all. This is my opinion. So for me, the first one is the winner.
Yeah,
I
tend to agree with you.
I agree too.
Very inclusive, the first one.
Yep.
I don't know if we need a motion to accept that first one. I'll make a motion to accept that first one.
Robin, you wanted to say something?
I second the motion.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
just
Hold on,
I
Rob.
have a differing opinion. I think
Go ahead. Robin?
Well, we had a first and a second. Now we have discussion. So Robin has the floor.
okay. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I will not be supporting the motion. I do think it's a good idea to include it. It is viewed by a lot of people in low and moderate incomes that environmental concerns is a rich white man's game. And I think by saying the word urban, we're being very specific. That
You muted yourself?
Robin, not muted, I don't think.
Connectivity. I think she has to log in again.
She's there, but not on the screen.
No, she's twice.
Probably needs to turn on video again. Try clicking the WebEx symbol at the bottom right of the screen.
She's here.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
We hear you, yes.
Oh, we can.
I'm getting messages due to the weather conditions. There's low bandwidth. So my point was that I think we should be very intentional about reaching out to people in an urban environment. And even though there are single family houses around Hamilton Street, there are a lot of apartments around Hamilton Street. And I would prefer to see it in, but obviously I'll go along with the majority.
Well,
so how are we proposing to get a decision on this? I mean, is it a
Second,
vote?
I would like to
Top.
review the sentence
Okay.
because it looks like if we can implement wording on equity, that would be good.
Let me look at.
When did you send it? 31st. Okay. Quality of life in all parts of our township for all people. So when we say that it's for all parts of township, but also for all people, does it make sense? Doesn't sound like.
I don't know. All people sounds a little clumsy.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Well, it does.
I mean, we're not talking to a bunch of, well, these are sophisticated, educated people. Let's put it that way.
Parts of our township or community. Well,
I could see it in writing.
Go ahead and vote on it the way it is. I made my point. So.
We can replace township by community. Does it sound?
You say all parts of our township, regardless of the area of the town, something to that effect. I don't want to use town twice, but I still like the way number one is. I think it's inclusive, all parts of our township.
Okay. Then leave it this way.
So, Walter, do you want to call a vote?
Yes. Let's have a motion on it's number one, right?
Yes. Well, we had the vote. We had the motion. We had the second. We had discussion.
Oh, we have. Okay. All right. So all in favor of the motion as presented, why don't we have a show of hands? We'll make sure.
Mine's up.
Oh, I see. Unanimous. Is that right?
Well, Robin said that she wasn't voting.
Oh,
so
okay.
I
So
can't
she
see.
has-
I can't see her.
No, I see your screen.
So she's abstaining or not saying no?
Why do we have different
Robin's
rules?
voting. Robin's voting no.
Okay.
All right.
And Diane, we can't see her hand,
But I'm a yes.
and she's a yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's everybody? Okay. Motion carried.
So the second thing is, as far as the web page is concerned, has to do with the banner that Jess sent today. I don't know whether you can put that up on the screen, Stan. She sent an email late in the afternoon today about the banner that says Franklin Township Environmental Commission.
Here.
There we go.
So.
And Arnie, if I may say so, when we bring up this banner, look at the banner. Can I just make a comment on the banner?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That I believe she is sending this to us for the colors and the font. The copy will follow based on what we just voted on. So please, when you look at this is not.
It is. I cannot hear everything. There is some.
What's going to appear? The actual.
So my question about this is, I like the colors, but at the top, I believe, and you can go to our township website and our township web page, and I think at the top of every one of our web pages, it says Franklin Township. So I don't know if we need to duplicate that here above, and I would just say Environmental Commission mission statement, because it's already at the top of the page. If you go to our web page, it says Franklin Township. Time out. Go ahead.
No, the Township of Franklin that you see at the top is in the township's banner. Ours is only below that.
Right.
So I think ours will simply say the mission statement of the EC. The Franklin, we can't affect that at all. That's not even on our page. It's in the frame around our page.
So are we agreeing that we don't need the mission statement of the EC, or I'm not sure
No,
what you're
no. I'm saying absolutely we need the mission statement of the EC. We don't need to repeat the words Franklin.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah, you are agreeing.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Arnie, which is why I said, when you're looking at what Stan is sharing, look at it for the colors and the font, because the wording will be what we just voted on.
But
Not the wording you see in front of you.
Well, I thought that what JJ said in her email, and I might be wrong about this, that she wanted us to vote on what we're looking at right now. Was she being
did. No, for colors and font.
Oh, okay. So it didn't have to do with the wording.
No, because the wording is coming from us as a result of the meeting.
Well,
And is it going to say environmental commission, like no?
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that was my point, is that, environmental commission mission statement are the most important parts of this, I think, but that's not what we're voting on here.
Right.
It's just the font and the colors we're saying.
Right.
At some later date.
Right. Jessica's going to work on getting the actual wording in here and sizing it.
Right.
Based on the phrase we just came up with.
Yeah, I would say you just want to say environmental commission rather than EC, because Franklin Township's already up on the banner on top.
Right.
So you don't need to repeat it, but you should spell out who we are. People, EC, what does that mean? I mean, we know, but
yeah.
Somebody else
You're making my point all over again. That's exactly
okay, good. Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Vote already.
I think also that in the live navigation pane, we should have option that says mission statement. So then when you hit it, you will see clearly missions, because here you actually don't see where is the mission statement here, right?
No, it's not
Stan,
that.
it's coming. Stan,
It's coming.
listen to me. You're only looking at this for colors and font.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I thought that we have old statement here, but no, it's not.
No, that's going to be replaced. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue, Stan. We've decided on the mission statement, how we're going to see it on the website, how we're going to get to it on the web page. I mean, by clicking on something. Well, actually, it's going to be at the top of every one of our pages, I believe, is what we discussed.
No.
But well,
it's only one sentence, and you just shortened it.
Stan, it's something that we're working on. That before it's finalized, we're going to bring it to the whole environmental commission to take a look at it, and we're going to get a look at it.
Because right now you see that the pictures are scrolling through a few pictures, which I don't know who selected it.
And Stan, every page is different. Stan, there's no uniformity. We're trying to fix that.
Okay. So if I hit the members, this is gonna. Well, it's still there. Upcoming meetings.
Well, we're not looking at what you're looking at, so.
Oh, I thought I'm sharing.
No, all we're seeing is Franklin Township Environmental Commission, EC mission statement.
Can we as a group, the three of us did a lot of work on this. I don't know if we want to go through all of that tonight.
Right.
I'm going to have to get off because mine is so unstable. It's crazy. But I would like to make one more point as soon as we're done with the website, and then I will get off.
Yeah, I think what JJ was asking for was, are we okay with the colors? Are we okay with the font? That's it.
Yep.
So I would say preliminarily, I would say yes, but I'd have to see how it fits into everything else on the web page. So I don't even know if I can commit to that. I'd want to, the colors I like, but I want to see how it fits on the web page in a final product.
And she will have that, or Krista will be able to do that for us.
So that was my sitting on the fence vote. So maybe Krista will be able to help us during our February 12th meeting to be able to provide us with a better look at that. And that might be a better time to vote on this once we are able to see this.
If you look at Jessica's email at 3:55 today, she said, I've attached the rough artwork for potential use as a banner on our EC web pages. I ask that you please vote on it tonight. The text will be updated with our final mission statement. So other than the text, it's the colors and the fonts. And I think we can get...
Right. And my point is that I like what it looks like, but I'd like to see what it looks like on the whole page with everything else.
Can we tell her to please proceed, and so Krista can plug it in and then it can come back, and if we don't like it, we can change it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I agree with that. Anybody else have any problems with that?
No, I agree with that. And
Okay.
Hey, yeah, not a big deal.
I think we're done with the web page then.
And Barney, one more thing though, when they make all the changes, they're gonna add the missing members, right?
That's all going to be worked on. Yes.
oh yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, that's...
It's all being worked on.
So do you
Okay.
want to have a motion to approve the colors, or?
I think we,
Is that right? We voted.
Yeah, I think we voted. I don't know if we needed a motion. We all agreed on it.
Okay,
Robin,
okay, fine.
Robin, you said you had something else you wanted to discuss before you left?
Yeah, I think we have a consensus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the plans.
Yes, come on, people, just one more, then at least it will be a tie.
Okay. So
Should I go ahead and speak about it?
yes, go ahead, Robin.
Okay, I wanted to talk about the, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, now.
We hear you.
Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay.
we hear you.
Thank you. Inside the Elizabeth Avenue plans for the warehouse on Elizabeth Avenue, there's a tree removal plan. And the tree removal plan indicates what trees are on the property and what condition they're in. And the trees that are in poor or okay to poor condition, can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
We see
We will yell at you when we can't
Can you
hear
guys
you
hear me?
anymore.
All right, I'm sorry, it's going in and out.
keep going.
All right, because I noticed it stopped. Stan, if there's any way you can share my screen. I would just like
I can
to be
let you
aware
share
that
screen.
the same engineer that puts the plans together for the township is doing the assessments.
You can present now.
Thank you. Okay. So share. I'm going to share my screen. And let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Are you seeing anything?
It
I
says
think,
you're
yeah.
starting to share your screen, your
By any
content.
chance, are you seeing what looks like a plan page?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
We're looking at your name.
Okay.
It says it's starting.
It's coming up saying that it is sharing. Well, if it's easier, we'll
There
just
you go.
talk
There you
about
are.
the issue.
There you are.
There is a tree removal plan.
We need to have it zoomed a little bit.
I'm going to try to
A whole
make this
lot.
bigger.
Hit the plus Hit the plus at the top.
26.
Yeah, I'm
thank
working
you.
on that right now, Stan.
It looks like it's at
Let me see that
26%.
zoomed up.
Yeah. You gotta hit the plus next to the 26.
Yes.
I've been doing that.
Hmm.
I'm at 175. Maybe it just
Okay.
needed to
Wow.
catch up.
It's still
I'm
26%
at
on.
200
Well,
now.
I think it's just delayed because when you started sharing, it also took a while. You just need to be patient. If you see 100 something, it's coming up. It's just, we don't
Right.
see it yet.
Yeah,
There we
Now
go.
we see 31.
It's working its way up.
I'm at 200.
Ooh.
Okay.
200 will be too much. 150.
So I'm going to lower it a little bit so
So
I can
anyway,
get more columns in here.
before it gets to the right,
Okay,
you
I'm
can
at
start talking.
125.
Just,
I'm at
yeah.
120.
So what do we?
Yes,
Ah,
thank
here
you.
you go.
There we
There you
go.
go.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What I'd like you to notice is these are the trees that they've identified by GPS, and this is the condition they're assigning to each of those trees. I'm trying to get this out of my way. And any tree that has an asterisk, it indicates, I'm sorry, I'm moving this and you won't get there for a little while. There's a note right in the middle of the page that says any tree that's got an asterisk, they've decided is in extremely poor condition and does not need to be replaced.
Wow.
And if you look at this list of trees, most of them, they're naming poor, extremely poor. And the same engineering firm apparently is making the decision that's getting paid by the client to present the plans to the town. So when it comes down to their calculation of how many trees they have to replace, it's considerably reduced by this. Now, to Ted's point, they are still planting a lot of trees, but if you look at the photo, the air photo of these two lots, this is heavily canopied, especially the one lot. So while they seem to be planting a lot, they're taking out a lot of trees. So I'm very sad about that, but it also raises the bigger question, who's determining the condition? Because this engineering firm, Mazer, is this one, they're the ones getting paid by the applicant. So they're making the decision of what tree.
It's not independent assessment.
And
Robin,
are they?
I think you're
I
bringing
have
up
a problem, if that my assumption is correct, I have a problem with that mechanics in their system.
And are they
And
going?
I think you're bringing up an excellent point, Robin, and I'm not familiar with anything.
So you know what, because this, my connect.
Robin?
No, I
I think
lost
he's
you.
frozen.
It's the
Yep,
snow.
there you are.
Robin,
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I'm not familiar with anything.
I can hear you, Arnie.
Okay, I think you're bringing up an excellent point, and I'm not familiar with anything in the ordinance that references the conditions of trees to be removed other than their size. I'm not fully versed on the ordinance. Maybe Ted knows something more than I do. But it sounds
And
like
also,
what they're proposing is they're discussing trying to get away with not having to pay into the fund for these trees that are in bad condition, or having to replace the trees that are in bad condition. But again, I'm not familiar with anything in the ordinance that says, based on the condition of the tree, poor, bad, good, or whatever. It's just a matter of what the size of the tree is. So you bring up a good point. Is this plan being reviewed and just taken for granted by the planning board or zoning board or whoever's looking at it, or the environmental commission? Or is there somebody at the township level that is looking at this?
And how are they assessing the trees? Are they going out to the site or are they looking at a photo on like the GPS?
Ted, are you familiar with anything in the ordinance that
Are
talks
they
about?
with GPS? They
I
talk
am
about
not. It's
GPS.
a question of what ordinance it's in. If it's in the zoning ordinance, I can look it up, but it might be in the tree ordinance.
Are look, they cite it. It's right, Ted, it's right here on the screen. They say tree is extremely poor condition and exempt per ordinance 222-5.1D.
There
Okay.
you go.
Can you see that on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Is that the land ordinance, Ted?
Well, I think that
So
Which
I'm
tree
gonna
ordinance
leave
is
you guys.
Yeah, tree isn't.
I recently had
Don't leave us.
cited to me something else in Ordinance 222. It happened to be about basketball hoops put up at the edge of the street, but that suggests it's in those, a more policed part of the ordinance.
I had a neighbor who tried to do that and the township made them take it down.
Well, that's exactly it. Somebody who's about to join the planning board had this, and somebody from the township saw it and they had to take it down.
Right, but we're sort of off topic now.
So do you think does anybody know, do they go out and actually look at the trees?
My point just is that trees are so important to us now with climate change.
Of course.
I have a hard time believing that many are extremely poor.
But even if they are, that if tree is bad, it means that it should be replanted. I mean, right? That's the natural cycle.
Is this a plan that we have reviewed and made comments on?
Yeah.
So we must have missed it.
So we can send in a supplemental comment saying that we're not familiar with any part of the ordinance that says the removal of trees or the replacement of trees or payment into the tree fund is based on what shape the trees are in. It's just a
Condition
matter
of
of
the
the
tree.
size of the trees. So they're acknowledging that these trees are there. And if there's 100 trees and they're saying only 50 of them need to be replaced because the other 50 are bad, that's not in the ordinance as far as we know. So they need to replace all 100 or replace 50 and pay for 50 into the tree ordinance.
Well, they cite an ordinance, so we have to look up and see what the ordinance says.
Yes.
And I right. And I think further work should be done on them just being able to get out by paying into the tree ordinance, the tree fund. I think given where we are with climate change, with New Jersey's new goals,
Well,
I think that could use some reworking.
I think this is a task for us and the council to develop a plan what to do with the money that all those developers are paying to the tree shade fund, and where do we put the trees, right?
And maybe maybe we re-examine whether it's simply a matter of paying money into the fund, or do they have to do more on site with green infrastructure or planting more trees on site? Because to pay money into a tree fund and plant trees 12 miles away in Franklin Township does not do anything for that site. And the township is so big, they can end up being in a completely different microclimate. So I am going to say good night. I know I'm fading in and out.
I can send I'll send an email to Christine Woodbury tomorrow morning and ask about, I'll raise that question because this application is going to be heard this week.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. I just looked at the township ordinance. Like, you could look it up really quick. Like, it's 222.51D. Doesn't say anything about that. It says any trees proposed in a landscaping plan may be credited toward the number of replacement trees, provided such trees are at least 2.5 inches in caliber in the case of deciduous trees, or at least 6 feet or greater height in the case of evergreen or coniferous trees. doesn't say anything about what they're talking about.
Condition, huh?
Which one is this? This is executive investment or Elizabeth?
It doesn't really matter. The point
I think
is
it's the Elizabeth one.
The Elizabeth one, okay.
But the overall point is what Diane said, that there's nothing in that ordinance that says condition of the trees, and they're
Yeah.
trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the zoning or planning board or whoever it's going.
Right.
I just sent a link in the chat if anybody can open it.
And if anybody needs to look this up, maybe Stan could bring it up, because when I sign off, this page is going away. Okay,
Dan,
just
could you look at the link
remember
I
that.
sent and see if you could share that?
ecodes360.com.
Yeah, that's the one.
I see. Yeah, there's lots of text. What is it? It's only the paragraph 5.
Well, that's what the plan said, 5.1D.
5.1 D. Any trees proposed?
Yeah, 5.1D doesn't say that.
Can you share that with everybody?
Let me actually do it. I have to reclaim. Wait a second, participants. I have to reclaim the presentation role. Wait a second. Oh, maybe I am presenter. Okay. I'll just do this. Okay. You see it?
There we go.
Shade trees.
So
1D.
5.1 and it's D. So any here, right? So it's referring to the size, 2.5 inches caliper, in the case of deciduous tree, or at least 6 feet or greater in height, in the case of a green or tree. Okay, there is no description that you kind of self-describe the condition of the tree and determine whether it is subject of replacement or not. So that's
right. Yeah. I'll raise that with Christine.
Yeah, that's completely inaccurate.
So Diane, that was a great job. That now we can actually adjust our comment accordingly.
Yes. Yeah, this says existing tree to be removed, and it's just by the diameter. There's nothing about the condition of the tree itself.
And Arnie, you've never heard that on shade tree, right?
No, that's what I said from the beginning. That was my first comment, that I have never seen anything in the ordinance or in shade tree that discusses anything other than the caliper. That is it. Caliper is what they go by. They're just trying to get away. It sounds to me like they're just trying to get away with having to pay into the fund or plant more trees.
Yeah. I'll make that comment tomorrow. Because I think tomorrow night or
the planning board.
Is when? That's tomorrow night?
Wednesday night.
Wednesday, okay. But I'll get it into Christine so she can get it to everybody.
Shame on them for trying to do this. Good for us for catching them.
That was a good catch.
Oh, they're dying.
Myself, I think a suitable compromise would be to exclude trees that are entirely dead, but not ones that are at least in part alive.
Yeah, they rate them poor and extremely poor. I don't know what distinction there is.
How about dead alive?
Good. So the discussion on this particular, I don't know, I guess this is sort of generic.
Yes. Well, it's specific for this particular application.
Yeah.
It'd be a generic comment.
Okay.
that we need to watch for.
It's important that the comments are made, so if if this applicant gets away with it, who else is
Right.
gonna try and get away with it?
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, other plans?
Oh, yeah. There's one other plan called Duffy. And it's a pole barn to replace a bunch of sheds. This is on,
And
1464 Hamilton.
Paul, do you have it on your screen?
No, I don't have it on screen. I just wrote it down.
Okay.
Well,
I
is
can
this a
read it to everybody.
Is this a residential property?
It's a residential property. They're taking down 5 sheds and putting up basically a 4-car garage. They call it a pole barn. And there be a new driveway. The sheds take up some of the impervious coverage now. The building is obviously going to be somewhat bigger than the sheds. So there'll be an increase in impervious coverage because of the building going up. But there is a new driveway they're going to put in, and I would recommend that we recommend that be pervious. There's only cars. They don't have to worry about the heavy-duty trucks. They could use pervious pavement.
Does the impervious pavement go over the allowed amount?
I couldn't tell. There's only 3 lines on the application. And there's a drawing and the application itself, and there's very scant information there.
It doesn't hurt to make that suggestion anyway.
Right,
and it's a good suggestion.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to get that in front of us and have an official, so I have something to write tomorrow with us in the minutes, having discussed it.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay.
But also make the point that we don't know if how this increase of impervious surface affects the allowed amount on that property, because we haven't been provided with that information.
Right.
Say, Arnie, somehow your volume is a little down. Did you adjust it?
He flipped the speaker.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Stan, you have to keep reminding me that it's not an antenna. It's my.
Actually, as I observe those meetings, the WebEx is not adjusting for different setup of the microphones. Like Seal is lately very quiet. Diane is quiet, but we have good headsets, so we are very loud. So the whole voice is in imbalance. You cannot set up your own speaker, headset, to hear everyone appropriately without anyone else being screaming. So, having this maybe on the angle like this is maybe better than all the way to the mouth for us. I don't know.
Seal is quiet tonight because she's not here.
Yes, but when she's here, I noticed that it started sometimes in November, before she was actually heard much better. So I don't know, there's some technical thing.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So we've completed all the plans, have we not?
Yes.
All right. We can go into old business update. I know. I just want to ask Ted, is there anything for Sustainable Jersey?
No, because
Okay.
I think we don't have to go up for recertification this year. It would be next year because we were last recertified in 2019 and before that in 2016.
Okay, yeah.
So,
all right, on the one-use plastics ordinance, I think what is it, in August that the straws go into effect? No straws unless people ask for them. But nevertheless, I was on an ANJAC webinar, and they say that they're going to come up with, in terms of education, some criteria or something like that. And I've been looking to see if they had anything, but that's minimal right now. And so I believe in about 3 months, they expect to have something that they can share with us. So if we want to start moving on education, we can use their guidance, or we can go it alone and see where we land in terms of how they what they suggest. So I don't know if there's anything else that anybody wants to add on that.
So I forwarded that email. What the Princeton Sustainable Princeton is doing, they have
Okay.
the mailing list, emailing list,
Yeah.
and they use it to communicate to people. Of course, it includes only a subset of people, but it would be nice if we have a mailing list of some sort that we can use. And I know that the recreation department, they do have a mailing list. Whether we can use it to communicate such a thing, I don't know. And it would not be sufficient anyway. I think that the major point is to communicate it with in partnership with the supermarkets. It has to be
Okay.
communicated there.
All right.
Who pays for it and how it is, that's up to the question, of course. But I think this is the good place and strategy to communicate it, because particularly when it comes to the plastic bags, right? Because it will be impacting the supermarkets and the customers right there.
Okay. So Stan, that's a little different from what you shared regarding, I don't know, knowledge about bags in general.
No, we don't need to. Well, okay. My thinking was that we need to communicate the law. We need to
Okay.
communicate
Yeah.
that this is coming up. You cannot use disposable bags. They will not give it to you at the checkout counter, and the suggestions of what to do instead, right? So what we already know, right? But it needs to be clearly stated in the communication to the residents that, here is the reusable bag, use it, keep it in your trunk, and always bring it with you to the store.
Many supermarkets are already selling reusable bags and putting them up at points of maximum traffic.
Yeah, and yes, but people take it as a completely voluntary, and we need
What
to
they should do
communicate.
is,
Oh, you have to pay for them.
it's often as little as 99 cents. What they should do is have a sign up above the bags summarizing the law with respect
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
With a date,
the other
maybe.
thing that needs to be communicated, and here I think the Chamber of Commerce would be a good place to go, is that smaller businesses can still use paper bags.
Okay.
They are not supposed to give out disposable plastic bags either. But unlike the supermarkets, they can still use paper bags.
All right. So do we have a working relationship with the Chamber of Commerce? I'm not sure how it's.
I've spoken with them a couple of times and they were supportive
Okay.
of bag ban. I don't know that I have the email of Juanita Painson, but I'm sure I can get it.
Is there such a thing as a supermarkets association?
Well, there are really two main chains, the ShopRite and the Stop and Shop.
That's correct. Yeah, in Franklin Township.
They certainly know exactly what the situation is.
Okay.
But maybe we should just suggest we should make up a summary of one page or less, as little as possible that is still explains, that can be posted in appropriate places in the supermarket.
I want to add Walgreens maybe.
Walgreens?
Walgreens, it's the distinction is on the size of the business. I think it's 2,500 square feet. Anything above cannot use paper bags. Anything below can.
Yeah, I
But,
have no vision of that area. Do you think that the Walgreens at the intersection of Hamilton and Franklin Boulevard is too small?
I don't know. The site plan exists somewhere, but
Yeah, we do have something called tropical supermarkets, but they are sort of in between ShopRite and, well, they're smaller than
no.
ShopRite or Stop and Shop.
Ted, would that be up to the township code enforcement officials if they were to post something, they would know which shops, which stores would be required to post it based on the size of those stores?
Well, they should be able to dig out the size of the stores. Yes, if the structure is reasonably recent, which is to say within the time I've been on the planning board. But the other thing to the public is to remind the public to use their reusable bags at all sorts of businesses. I have to tell myself when I go into Ace Hardware, bring in your own bag. Don't use their bag.
And we have auto parts store.
AutoZone?
AutoZone, I think. Yeah, it's right on Route 27 on our side.
Yeah.
That's just another example. And plastic bags are banned regardless of the square footage area, right?
Yeah.
It's only the provision of the paper.
Yeah.
And I don't think that smaller stores that used to, well, it's up to them. I'm just trying to think that if they today use a plastic bag, whether they will switch to paper, just because they can.
Yeah, there's an Ocean State outlet store on 27 and South Middlebush. That's also a bigger store.
Yeah, that's clearly big enough to that it applies.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. As I go down here, I know stream cleanup, Stan, I know you've kept us up to date. Anything new tonight, man?
I think there were developments which I didn't report yet. So the representative from the Watershed Institute that is communicating with us has changed again. Instead of Erin Landis, it's Erin Stratz, which, by the way, she was our contact a couple of years ago. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, she moved up to a higher position, and now all the people at lower positions have left.
I don't know all those details.
Stan, there was something else about the web page that we are going to need a write-up for the stream cleanup. I know we have a date for it, but we're going to need a write-up for this year's next stream cleanup to post on our web page.
Good. I started drafting it, so yeah, I'll give you some. What was done was that I wanted to visit the premise, the site, to see what's going on, and it's heavily polluted. It's relatively small area, and it has a stream that is kind of dry now because it fills up when we have lots of rain, right? And then it brings all sorts of garbage in. So, and there is a section in the in the forest in the park, which there was water. Okay, there was a flowing water. So yes, definitely there is a stream, and it's actually a perfect example of why we should have keep streams clean, because somewhere there the water is supposed to go down into the pipe, and that pipe obviously is clogged. And then when it rains, the water spills into the trail area, which is adjacent to the children's playground. And it was coned out. I could tell that it was previously flooded. This is another good example. When we have the assembly, we want to remind people how important it is to not to litter. Which brings me to another point. It should be a heavily community event. We need to communicate this within the local area of the residents, because obviously the garbage doesn't come from too far. So local residents needs to be really engaged. I found plastic plates, cups, and bags, right? So it's really like people eating somewhere there and dropping everything. But most of the volume were bottles, plastic bottles, and then also some other household items, and few tires, up to maybe 10 tires. The area is easy to access. There are two parking lots. One is from the Fuller Street, the other one from Matilda. We proposed that the major assembly would be in Fuller Street parking lot, but only people who are either seniors or who carpool would get the preferred parking there. Everyone else would be at the Matilda side. There were concerns about how many people will be there. We want to make sure that they are spaced out. But what really is important, that we always want to say a few words at the beginning: housekeeping, safety, but also why are we doing it. So we cannot have it as a walk-in and walk-out event. It kind of disconnects people from the mission. And I think I'm talking too much.
No.
So,
Well, Stan, I think
Incidentally, you have to have some statement of the sort at the beginning of the cleanup to get Sustainable Jersey credit for it.
yeah.
I'll have to look that up, exactly what they say, but I remember it from the last time when we did Mile Run.
Right.
And I just spoke about John Clyde, but I cited that as the.
Yeah, but the reason why I'm kind of talking about it, because Erin wanted to kind of not do it, and for the sake of keeping people safe from COVID. But I think that we have to have that COVID, not COVID. It's manageable. It's manageable. If we have
Just don't worry about getting every single person hearing it. To get a sufficient crowd and communicate it to them.
Yeah, we might need megaphone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we have megaphone in the Department of Public Works?
I don't know.
I think they've had them at Franklin Day. I don't know, in the hands of
maybe the Recreation Department.
I would say the Recreation Department
Yeah.
would be the place to go for that.
Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, Stan, you found the debris clogging, I guess, an installed drain pipe.
Yeah.
So is that something we have to report to DEP, or we should when we find things like that, or it's just a matter of that?
Good question.
Yeah.
Well, I would think we would report it to not DEP, but DPW, our DPW.
Oh, okay.
I would think it's a no-brainer to report it to DPW.
Yeah.
And if the DPW doesn't do anything about it, then maybe the DEP, but hopefully it doesn't go that far.
I agree. And, you know, maybe there are sort of mitigating measures they can install or implement that might keep the flooding, you know, stop the flooding. But if they don't know about it, they don't you can't do anything.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's our place to clean out those drainage pipes
Yeah.
and those screened areas and everything. But it's certainly anybody can report something like that. And I think we definitely should report it to DPW and stay on top of it to see. That should be one of our action points. If we find something, stay on top of it to make sure that, you know, monthly or whatever, see if they've taken care of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm now sharing the
Yeah.
satellite image. So, hey, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Okay,
There we
so
go.
this is the Fuller Street parking lot. This is where we will have the assembly. This section is dry, but I could see that the water used to flow there. Okay, here is
wet.
somebody wants to say something. And here, and this should be dashed because there was no active water flow, but here was the flooded area. There was no more active water, but there were still cones, and this is the child, you know, playground.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a puddle here. I didn't want to access that area, but I assume that somewhere here would be probably, or maybe here, a pipe that would go towards, and here is Route 27, right?
No, it at least used to continue to flow as an open brook where you see that green stretch slightly to the right of your question mark. And then
so there is a residential
it
area.
continues to flow as a stream between the last street you see at the right,
Yeah.
which was Matilda, and the next street, which was Pine and is now Matilda.
Yeah.
And then I think it's at that street that it disappears underground and heads over to Mile Run.
Yeah, so I couldn't see any surface, you know, stream here. So that's why I was assuming that maybe there is pipe now underground which goes all the way to Route 27. So I didn't get to the point of inspecting where is the drain. But somewhere here was a puddle.
No.
Right.
So Stan, would you imagine that at some point there might be conditions that would be conducive to mosquito breeding?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, right now it's all frozen. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, you know, if there's water there and it's moving, as opposed to sort of stagnant, then, you know, that's mosquito territory.
Yeah, and then if it happens near the playground, I mean, this is very
Yeah,
unfortunate.
children know. Yeah.
You know, I mean, the playground is also here. But you know, and then I recall that there was quite of a plan for redevelopment, or you know, do something with the park. Ted, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And they've made it in that the particular point was made about the flooding there at the point where you pointed out.
Yeah.
So is that township owned property, that site?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Part of the park, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any wetlands in there?
Well, yeah.
I would say the whole thing is wetlands.
Probably.
It's and here is a community garden. The branches are touching the fence here. It's not really, you cannot go around here. You can access through here and here. easily. You can actually access other points, and obviously from Matilda, yeah. So it's a lots of work, and people should see it. People should experience it, because this is their park, right?
Is the upper left-hand corner there, is that the pool?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes.
So by having it here, this is also a good advertisement for the community gardens here. By having our stream cleanup here.
Yeah.
Why not?
I remember walking this whole area, that whole green area up at the top there. It's a grassy area. That gets very wet at times also.
All right.
It's like the outfield to a baseball field, that upper green area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, on that one, no. I know we are moving. Well, I guess the DPW has begun to work on the stormwater ordinance. Is that correct? And we at some point are looking to see it or influence it or have a comment on it.
Do we have any
least try.
update, Ted?
I've sent questions about this regularly to Mark and Carl. I got one response from Carl that Mark was working on it. I've got nothing from Mark.
Do you think they're going to attend the certification on February 4th or 5th? That Robin sent
At
the
least,
link?
at least Carl should. Yeah.
You have to go to the county.
Yeah.
Well, the certification is programmed by the Watershed Institute.
Yeah.
And the webinar on February 25th is Rutgers Cooperative Extension, and that's free. But the Watershed is, the certificate is $450. And the
Oh, I
deadline-
think that webinar, I think, is for DPW staff doing maintenance of the green infrastructure. So I think I've called it to Carl's attention.
Ted, what is the procedure once they complete I guess you have to still call it a draft, their draft of the stormwater ordinance? There's some kind of a review period where the public can see it, where we can see it and make comments. What is the procedure there?
Well, the really official thing is they have to send it to the county. And hopefully we get the county comments back in time that it can at least be introduced by council before. You see, it's obviously not going to be in place March 3rd, which is when it's supposed to be in place.
So we wouldn't see it before, or even some kind of a draft before it went to the county where we could make comments on something before they saw it.
Given the timing, I mean, I don't know for sure anything about this. Given the timing, I would assume that it would be exposed to the public and sent to the county at the same time. I don't know whether it'll be exposed to the public, or certainly we will keep, the Environmental Commission should keep asking for it.
Well, consider this an ask then.
Yeah.
So the public doesn't really have any input in this?
Oh, the public has input at the point when, because if the township has to adopt it as an ordinance,
right?
So with the second reading, the public has input, because that's pretty late in the game. I don't know whether there would be any availability for public inspection before then.
So that would be another time where we would be able to inspect it as well.
Yeah. Well, obviously it will be available for you remember that the way it works is an ordinance is quote, given first reading, it is
Right.
introduced, and then at least 2 weeks later, it comes up for second reading and passage. So it's obviously available for all and sundry, at least from the time of the first reading, and probably a bit before that. And it'll probably go to the land use committee before it goes to the full council, which means it'll have to be ready for the land use committee meets on the fourth Wednesdays, although it didn't meet last Wednesday. So that would have to be the last Wednesday of February.
Okay, all right. And I remember, what was it, Robin who wrote to BPU or about underground utilities, or having a study done, and she was waiting for some type of response?
Well, she actually got to talk with Upendra. Upendra said, we can't start a study just because a member of the public asked. Go to Bob Smith, get him to, half of the legislature ask for a study. She has left a message for Bob Smith. She has not gotten any reply. That's the last I
She sent
heard.
him email.
Was 2 weeks ago.
Ted, don't you think that it would be better off that request come from a council person than a regular public person?
It would carry a great deal more weight if it comes from a member of the state Senate.
Well, I'm saying from
the point.
Right, but my point, instead of coming from a member of the environmental commission, who's basically somebody in the public, the choice is Robin or you. Who's going to have more weight in having that conversation or making that request?
I have always found it extremely difficult to get anywhere with Smith's office.
Right.
You shut it off to a secondary person and you get their answering machine.
But Bob Smith is authoring lots of very nice laws, so including those that support electric vehicles.
Oh yeah.
So he's among the most productive senators, actually.
All right. Okay. So we have a lot of things working. I don't know. I think we are pretty much up to date on most of the items. Anybody have anything additional, or you have any question? I mean, we know on the EV Township uses data, you pretty much brought us up to date, Stan.
No, I don't have data today. I wanted to, because I wanted to read the data on the 1st of the month, but today was a bad day, you know.
You couldn't find the meters if you wanted to.
Yeah, I would not be able to get there by car, and with the amount of snow on, I just gave up even walk there. So I spent my energy by shoveling the snow, which is phase 1.
Okay.
And tomorrow will be phase 2. Anyway, that's not business. So
Stan, I had asked you, and you sent me the website for your EV group, and the reason that I did that was so that we could have it on our new webpage.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea. It's a Central Jersey Electric Auto Association, so we have secured the domain cjeaa.org. We also have com, but that's only for people who get lost at com, and they will be redirected to org. Thank you.
All right, very good.
Can I make a motion to open to the second opening to the public?
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So open to the public, second time.
Actually, we don't have anyone.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion, we close the meeting to the public.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
All right,
All right, okay.
I'll make a motion that we close the meeting.
I second that.
Then move a second that we close the meeting for tonight. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, well, thank you so much.
See you on the 15th.
Okay, that's the next
With
one.
that